Oh my goodness, we are live. We are on air. The show has begun. We are all over the world, coming to you live from Nathan's Land. I'm your host, Nathan Moore. This is Kyle Hogg. This is Steve Moore. Welcome to Jawn, a talking show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Good to see everybody, although I'm sure people are just now finding out about it. And make yourself at home, share, let people know you're here, tell your mom, tell your pa. They're not going to want to miss this.
Tell them to register for a chance to win.
Register for a chance to win. Kyle's got a prize for you. He's got an awesome prize. All right, welcome to episode 14.
Can you believe it?
14's a good number. It's 2 touchdowns and you kicked your extra point.
Yep. Everything's going according to plan.
Can't beat that.
Percy's over there saying, this is the 98th show. I can't believe
it. Percy, what's the date of today? The 8th or the 9th?
The 9th.
Today's the 9th. So tomorrow is my brother Daniel's birthday and Percy's golden birthday, 10 years old, on the 10th. Is that what makes it golden? Is that it's 10 and 10, or just... So not many people get a golden birthday. Your birthday has to be on the 10th?
No, that you're the age that the day is. So mine was when I was 24 on the 24th.
Oh.
Your birthday's on the 24th?
April 24th.
Mine's September 24th.
Yours September 24th? So my golden birthday was when I was 12.
Yeah.
I just learned something new. I did not know that. Dad has the worst birthday date that a human being can get. The day after Christmas.
Oh gosh, that is terrible.
Yeah, it's changed my life. I didn't agree to it, first of all.
Right.
They didn't even, my mother did not even give me a vote.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm pretty sure she hung in there. She didn't want to go on Christmas, so she kept me an extra day so I could have my own day.
I guess that's the only day that would have been worse than the 26th is the 25th.
The only fallout from it my whole life has been that I really never wanted my birthday explored in any way. I didn't want a cake, and I didn't want, we were done.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want another. But then you get into that period where, well, we got this for your birthday. And it's like the top to the other thing.
Right.
It's like, just don't worry about it.
It's devolved so far at this point, I'll give you a left sock for Christmas and a right sock for your birthday.
Exactly. And I didn't want anybody to bother anyway, so it wasn't a problem for me. But the problem has been that in me not respecting my own birthday, it's also caused me not to respect your birthday.
Right.
And I don't care about people's birthdays. I just, it's just another day, and it's not special to me.
Right.
And that's wrong.
Right,
It's bad headspace to do that to the innocent world, but that's what happens.
That's what happens.
At least it did in my case, because I'm basically a selfish human being, and I think of myself, and if y'all aren't going to celebrate me, I'm not going to celebrate you. Very childish.
Are the hospitals even open on Christmas?
No, they all had to go.
Did she have to hold it in?
I've been.
Oh my God!
I've been.
Christmas Day, the one day they're closed.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's not Christmas Day. They're closed the next day to recover from.
That's right.
No, it's.
Hey, Billy, welcome to the show. Hey,
It's
Ben,
okay.
welcome to the show. Well, speaking of birthdays, March is a huge birthday month. I mean, we got Daniel's birthday, we got Jocelyn's birthday. Today is Lex Park's birthday right
Is
now.
it?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Lex.
And I don't know if it's like looking for a penny and finding one everywhere or what, but it just seems like everywhere I look, there's someone celebrating a birthday this month. Christiana's March?
Wednesday.
Oh my goodness.
Look at that.
It just keeps going. Happy birthday, all you.
wow,
We
Mary-
did the math. That means all your parents got it on in June.
Mary Todd's birthday was the 4th.
Happy birthday.
It is interesting.
Unfortunately, Mr. Moore doesn't care about birthdays, so he's not saying anything.
I'm complaining because last Sunday I had Elliot's birthday.
That's right.
So people keep coming, and they keep having new birthdays, and it's just pretty much every month there's 2 or 3 birthdays in our family that.
We have a whole calendar up in our kitchen that Catherine's been developing over the years. It has everybody's birthday, and you just use a template right now. So each year you get to reuse all that information we've gathered.
That's a good idea.
It's invaluable.
Yeah, I always asked Mom when they were coming up because I can't remember them. I mean, I don't want to remember them. You're right. But yeah, birthdays are fine.
It's so interesting, because you start out as you don't even know about this probably, but most normal kids have birthday parties thrown for them. And you get used to that, all the way up through your teenage years. You have a birthday party to celebrate your birth.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
Right. That's tradition. But then, everybody then sort of goes on their own path on how they feel about it. And whether or not they're celebrated or not, and then the older you get, the more complicated it gets. All of a sudden you have a birthday that just depresses you. I think 40, or I can't remember the first one that was like that, where I actually was like, oh my God, I'm really sad. And it was all because it was my birthday.
Were
and
you
I was
ever
getting
torn
older.
or playing out somewhere on your birthday?
Oh, a lot. But and then you get people that just, I hate birthdays. I don't celebrate my birthday.
Right.
And it's every year when my birthday's coming up, I'm like, well, should I do something? Should I celebrate it? Should we have a party? I don't know. Then you just know all these people, and then everybody has a birthday. It's a lot of partying, too. I don't know. Do you celebrate your birthday?
Well, by myself, I don't want to walk around saying, "Oh, it's my birthday," but people always remember. You came to my birthday a couple years ago.
You had a birthday, or someone threw you a birthday?
They had a birthday party out in the backyard.
I didn't know that was your birthday. Probably wouldn't have come.
God, if I'd known that was your birthday party, I would
Oh,
have been
I
there.
should, yeah.
It's funny because we were just talking about this a couple of days ago. A friend of mine, Margie, she sent me some groceries. She ordered some groceries from Food Line, had it delivered to my house. It was a big ass thing of pork and beans. I was like, God, why'd you give me that huge? It's like as big as a Gatorade bottle thing. She goes, it was on sale. If you bought something, you got like a free thing. Free thing of pork and beans. And she said, I got it for you because when Mr. Moore came to your birthday party, that's what he brought to eat, a big can of beans.
I bet it was Bush's. Was it?
I don't know about pork and beans. They have their own little world. Van Camp's in there.
Oh,
you know,
Van Camps are good. Yeah.
So I don't know about pork and beans. But,
It was funny that she remembered that.
well, it was a sign that I must have really cared for you if I gave you my pork and beans.
Billy Shoemaker's watching, says his next birthday he'll be 70. There's
Wow,
those
there
round
you go.
numbers. I'll tell you, are you going to celebrate that or is it going to bum you out, or a little bit of both? A lot of times I guess it's incumbent on someone else to throw you a birthday party.
Yeah.
Throwing your own birthday party maybe is, I mean, in my 30s, I'm sure I threw myself birthday parties all the time. I was
You
pretty
used,
full of
you used to
myself.
throw yourself birthday weeks.
That's right.
I
My
recall.
rule was that you got to celebrate for as many days as you were years old. I mean, I was all about it. I was like, man, I am 33. I get to celebrate for 33 days. I was all about it.
When I turned 50,
Oh my goodness.
there's my birthday. When I turned 50, we hadn't been in New Jersey very long. My wife said, "Now we're just gonna go out to a bar. We'll have a couple of drinks, whatever." And for some reason, I was sort of sad, like I was turning 50, like we're not gonna do anything. So I get to the bar, and like she had invited all these people that we knew that were there, and I was having the best time. But somebody gave me a big button to wear, which I didn't even pay any attention to. They just put it on me while I was doing something else. But so we went to another bar, and everybody went in. They go, "You can't come in." I'm like, "Why?" They go, "You can't come in." I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "You just can't come here." I was like, "Why?" Everybody else came in, not with that button. So they give me this. The button's like that big. It said, "Fuck me, I'm 50," and I've been wearing it around the whole time, not even knowing. This bar's like, "You can't come here." But they wouldn't tell me why. I was like, "Why? You just not my friends here."
Is there a comma in there anywhere? Was there a comma after the me?
Yeah, it's like, "Fuck me, I'm 50." But I'd been wearing it in the other bars, walking around talking to people. "Hey, can I get 2 more drinks over here?" Like a moron.
Oh my goodness.
Billy says, "I won't be bummed out. I'm going to eat cake and ice cream." Well, maybe I'll join you.
There you go.
Very good.
What is it tomorrow? When is it?
Yeah, when is it? We'll do a special show. We'll all eat cake and ice cream. Any excuse to eat cake and ice cream is a good thing.
So he must have had his golden birthday a long time ago, at least 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It is an awkward transition to go from childhood to adulthood with the celebration of yourself on the day you were born being part of your ritual and tradition, the way what you've always done. But now you're out in the world. And if someone doesn't throw you that birthday party like they always did, you either have to throw yourself one or just let that go.
Just go home and cry yourself to sleep.
Just go home and cry yourself to sleep.
I hate the world. The
There's
world
all
hates
these-
me.
Childhood's so fun like that too, because there's also all these milestones that are huge. Because there's, when you turn 16, you get your driver's license. When you turn 18, you can go to rated R movies,
Right.
and when you turn 21, you can buy beer. Like, it's always something coming. And then after 21, the next one you get is like retirement age or something. AARP. There's a big old dry zone in the middle there.
Can we back up just a second? I have a question.
Okay.
Back over here to this gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Did any of the women at the party, the first party, think you were making a request?
I think they probably just thought, "What is this fool doing?"
But fuck me, I'm 50. It's kind of thing you'd say if you're very needy. I mean, that doesn't even make you look good.
Oh, when I find the woman that wouldn't let me in the second bar, and she pointed it out, I was like, "Oh, what the?" I took it off so fast. I was so embarrassed.
I'll
was
bet
like,
you
"Oh."
were. Did she let you in then?
Yeah, she let me in. Yeah.
Yeah. Did she scoff at you at all? Like,
She said, "Come on in, loser.
exactly.
You can stand out here all night with that button on."
That button
Nobody's
is
be
going
with
to be,
you.
that's hard to,
Someday he's going to put that button back on
That's
and
right.
go ahead to town again.
Right.
well, I guarantee you'd look good in it now.
Wow, you wear 50 well.
I was thinking I could bar it. Nobody'd believe me, though.
Oh, my God. Oh, man.
You should bring that for Dad next week.
Wonder if I still have it. I think I probably still do have it.
Well, happy birthday out there, world.
Yeah.
I say for your next birthday, you should throw yourself a big old birthday party. Whoever you are.
Well, another thing about when you're a kid, birthdays are always like, I mean, we were like a middle class, we never had any problem buying presents and stuff. But then, like, the older I get, I'll just be reading something, "Oh, little Timmy had to go to the birthday party and we couldn't afford a gift, so the mother invited him early, and the mother of the child having the birthday party bought a gift for the little Timmy to give." I'm like, man, that's like rough. You go to a birthday party, like you're just standing there. "What did you bring, Timmy?" "Nothing."
Oh.
Fuck me, I'm poor. It's like, oh, I mean, you don't even think about that type of stuff. And I don't know if as a kid you realize if somebody shows up without a present or not. But I've read those stories, like, it's heartbreaking. Like, oh man.
The social politics of
I
childhood
know,
birthday
I
parties.
know. Or the kids that have birthday parties and they invite everybody in their class and nobody shows up, and You just want to go beat up every kid in that class. Don't fuck with me. I'm 50 and I'm here to kick ass. You didn't go to Timmy's birthday party.
So maybe it's a good time to talk about language on the show.
What do you mean?
I don't know. We've never talked about it.
What do you mean by language on the show?
Like curse words.
No. I'm against it.
You're against it?
I'm for it.
You're for it. I guess I'm the tiebreaker here. You know,
Right.
I'm easy. I could go either way. It's funny because when Nana was with us, I never cussed on my shows, even though she wasn't watching. I thought she might be.
Right.
And she was a good guidepost for that for that kind of thought. But we do have young ones now coming up, which is a different incentive. All the nieces and nephews I have now, that's eventually going to become some kind of pressure.
Yeah, well, I feel like they ought to know that their grandfather cusses, and he does. But you want to back up a little bit. I can talk about language. See, I had a job, and I didn't do it for 30-some years. I never said that word. I never said the F word in front of a classroom.
It would have been a big deal if you had.
It would have been, and I didn't use any other words. Like if I said shit, I said it on purpose for a reason, to get something important out or to be very, very funny. It had, I wasn't.
You don't know shit.
I wouldn't. In other words, I knew the rules and I observed them, because I didn't think a teacher should be saying that word.
Oh, yeah. There's a time.
But when I got out of school in the afternoon, at 4 o'clock, when I became Steve Moore, just a guy, then I used to cuss to add. It's like a comma or apostrophe.
Right.
You just add. It adds to what I want to say, or it doesn't. It might subtract, but it was what I wanted to say, and I was probably more loosely in that situation after I've had a couple beers. I used to have a rule that the first F word was about the third beer. If you know that, how you change when you drink a few,
Right.
and you hear that F word come out, you say, well, here we go.
I guess we're in there.
We're in there now. But other times I would use it just for shock effect, or to be funny, or to add to the conversation. But so I did definite rules. But you know what? Where I am right now in my life, I ain't got no fucking rules. And you can deal with it or not. And if you told me that I couldn't cuss on here, I wouldn't.
Right.
Unless
And if you told me I couldn't cuss on here, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
He just whoop your ass.
What?
He just whoop your ass.
Yeah, well, if I had to.
Well, the thing is, somehow, I don't know if everybody does, but my brain just, like, I've never cussed around my parents. I don't know if I've ever said a cuss word unless I was just so mad around my parents. So when I was married, we would just at home. We weren't cussing all the time. You just cuss word just comes right once in a while. And we'd go on vacation with my parents or home for the weekend. My wife's like, "How do you never say a single cuss word when you're there?" And I'm like, it just somehow my brain just shuts it off. You just
shuts it down.
Like I never consciously thought, don't cuss when I get there, but
yeah, I had a friend like that when we were in high school. It was amazing what he could do. He moved here from somewhere else, but they were just a different family. But I'd go over to their house for dinner or something, and he had this whole vocabulary, and we talked all at school, and we were friends. And as soon as he would walk through the door, his whole language changed,
Right.
and he became their son,
Yeah.
and he had this whole different vocabulary.
Right.
It wasn't even like he was the same guy
Right.
when he
Right.
went in the
Yeah.
house. As soon as he got away from his parents, he'd be right back there with you.
It's strange.
And I think about that. So
Yeah.
I had a little bit of that going on, but he was a master at it.
Mm-hmm.
His parents would have sworn he's never said a cuss
Well,
word.
that's probably the way
And
my
I would have
parents are.
sworn,
That's probably the way my parents.
yeah,
are.
they would say he's never cussed.
Such a good boy.
But when I saw him out on the football field, he could lay him out there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like we would watch, like when I was living in Richmond, my brother would come over. We'd watch sports and stuff. And you're like, what the fuck, damn moron. And we'd my parents. I'm like, you big dummy, good grief. It's like, I didn't even try to change it. It would just come out totally different.
Right. Yeah. Well, I never cussed in front of my parents either. So, but I also had it at work.
Right.
So I had it more
You get in
restricted.
trouble.
Well, yeah. Yeah. you
Wonder
could.
what is that all about? That whole it's really palpable. It's like if someone dropped an F-bomb in Nana's presence, it would be like a ripple that would part the sky. I mean, it's like why is there so much thunder behind such a silly 4-letter word?
I don't know I wanted to talk about that word. I've thought about not the whole word itself. I never had it's confused me my whole life, because I have this idea of what it means, but I don't see that as a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody says F you, I'm confused. I mean,
About 50?
yeah, it sounds like you're being aggressive,
Right.
somewhat negative,
Right.
but I see this as a positive
Right.
possibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a very it's beyond ambidextrous, that word. It you can use it to say anything. Something's
Well,
incredibly great or something's incredibly awful.
I guess I'm figuring that out.
It's all how you say
It's
it.
my ex-wife's brother, he cussed like just every other word. He said that if you hung out with him for an hour, you probably heard the F word like 50 times. It just he no meanness or anything. It just came out of his mouth all the time. You'd just be like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? But so one time he had 2 little daughters, and they went to their grandparents for Thanksgiving one time, and the grandmother brought the turkey out, and the little girl, I think she was 8, said, "That's a big fucking bird." And he said, the whole table was like, "Whoa, what in the world?"
It's so funny how that hits. It's huge.
And he said he was
it's
like,
a really big
and he said,
moment.
"Oh my God, she's got that from me saying it like I mean, I don't think he even knew he was saying it all the time. But he said once he heard her saying, "That's a big fucking bird," and he had to just like, "Oh,
that's
like, time to go, everybody, come, we're going home."
So
now."
did he change?
He said he tried to. He said he was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
It just because he didn't feel bad for her, he felt bad that because they knew where did she learn that from him, in a nice, friendly way, like that's a big old bird, that's a big old fucking bird.
I mean, I guess it's just like, I mean, it's a learned thing that when you're raised to not use impolite words in company or whatever, and if a child curses, they are swiftly come down upon by the parents very dramatically. It's always it was a big dramatic deal. I had actually, as an aside, just flash back on a really vivid memory that I only have a small part of the memory, but I do remember being Mom and I in my childhood house, and she was like, you can ask me anything if there's stuff it was one of those early moments of parental, just if you ever have any questions about anything, you can ask me anything. And Kent Kugler, the 2 doors down older kid troublemaker, had some pretty vulgar language as far as I can recall. And I remember I wrote the F word down on a piece of paper and folded it up and gave it to Mom. I was like, I want to know what that means.
A girl at school gave me this. I didn't know what it
Now I'm curious. Do you remember what she
I don't
said?
remember how she handled it. I think it was a pretty political response. Pretty, well, that's just something adults do or something. I don't know.
I don't know this word. One of the few I don't know. Let's go on.
So you stumped me.
God, yeah.
You're
Come
up.
on.
But at any point in time, and I mean, maybe it's sort of happening, but if parents didn't do that to the kids, after a couple of generations, there would be no bad words.
There would be different bad words.
You think?
I think-
Why would there still be bad words?
Well, I think we would create words to get around other people knowing them.
All right, keep going with that. I feel like you're
But I think
on to
I
something.
think we want to.
What role do they serve?
Well, the role they serve is to get rid of excess emotion over a situation. That's when you use a good F-bomb is when when you're pissed or when you're happy or when you're something emotional. It's usually tied to something. Now, the person who uses it like a comma, which is okay, but that's not the same thing. But a lot of times you use that F word for effect. I mean, if you do use it, you use it because you want to. I mean, what do you
Didn't
say
have that
after that?
stigma, it wouldn't have the effect.
It needs to have you want that stigma, so you have to have some words that do that for your language. I would think you would try to have. It's interesting. I was just sitting there thinking there's only a few of. There's not that many words.
And they're all bodily functions or biological.
Is that right?
Well, I'm sitting here.
You've done some research.
I'm just thinking in my head. While you were talking, I was like, are they all bodily functions?
Doesn't George Carlin have like the 7 words you can't say? or
Right, that's
something?
the words that were banned on the radio. And I
Yeah.
guarantee you they were all bodily functions or biological in
Well,
nature.
what were they?
You want the actual list?
Yeah. Well, or one you made up. That would be fun too.
We could
But
guess.
I'd like to see how many we get right.
Well, the thing is, it's also weird when you get older and like people are saying stuff that you don't understand, and you know it has some kind of dirty meaning, but you're just like fake laughing, like I'm 50, I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, it's like I remember when I was working in New Jersey, we had a cleaning lady, and one of my best friends, and she was telling me about her son. We were in the kitchen one time, and she had yelled at her son about like messing around with all these bad girls or whatever. But she was telling me what she had told him, but she was yelling at, like she was telling me the story. So she's just yelling at me like, no, the lead up was like, she said, I told him. So people kept coming into the kitchen, and it's just the cleaning lady telling me, don't you be hanging around that thought, and don't you be doing this, and you gotta stay away from them women. So I got back to my desk and all these emails, I was like, what was she talking to you about? Who were you hanging around with? But so they thought she was telling me to stop hanging around these women, but I said, what's a thought? Like T-H-O-T, and it's like that hoe over there. And I was like, when she kept saying it, I was like laughing, like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I'm like, what in the world is she talking about?
T-H-O-T?
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
So it's like some, stop hanging out with them thoughts over there. There's whole hoes over there. And I was like, man. So I got back to my desk and I explained to everybody, no, she wasn't telling me to stop hanging out with these thoughts. And what is a thought? I don't even know what she was telling me.
I never heard of that.
Oh, I felt pretty dumb.
Well, I just read George Carlin's original list, and that there's a couple I don't think I could say out loud. I was well trained. But one thing I think is pretty
Can
fascinating.
you write down on a piece of paper and
is,
fold it up and give it to me?
Yeah. Shouldn't do that. When I listen to bootlegs of me out west, I'm just cussing like a sailor without even thinking about it. And I'm not really doing it for effect. I'm just that relaxed.
Oh, really?
And which is sort of fascinating to me because it was recently I was listening to a show I did in San Francisco, and I'm just up there, and it, just like hanging out with friends or whatever. But compared to my Stanton shows, where I don't know, It's so funny the different hats that you wear and things like
Yeah.
that. But all my stand-up comedy heroes were all very foul-mouthed. It's part of their act. It's part of their ethos. Part of their but for me, I always had the Nana quotient and could never fully embrace. I just couldn't imagine, doing a Bill Hicks or Richard Pryor's set or something like that for posterity because Nana would watch it.
So that woman had a lot of power.
She did.
Or
The
still,
all right, so his
and
seven
still does.
still does, right? Yeah, I still would have a twinge. All right, so it's shit, piss, the F word, the C word, and then cocksucker, and then M, mother effer, and tits.
Tits?
Tits. I feel like in his original bit, though, he then went on to list a bunch more words that you can't release, but that was his original 7. And every single one of them is either a body part, a body function, or a sexual thing, which makes sense that in the origin of human history and in the development of language, the taboo words would all involve stuff no one wanted to talk about in public, like going to the bathroom and having sex. Like
With your mother.
2 things, right? Just take it all the way to Greece, all the way to Greek mythology.
Oh my goodness.
But it's a fascinating series of events that leads to our language and the role of those words in our interactions.
It really is.
It's
But
pretty.
it's so, again, when I was a kid, you didn't hear any cussing on TV. No song had any cussing. I mean, unless your parents did it, or the old man across the street, like the guy that across the street used to always call us shit asses. You little shit asses, get over here, and be quiet down, you little shit asses. And we thought that was hilarious, but we never heard a lot of cussing. Kids now, like sometimes I'll be with my nieces and nephews, and the radio comes on. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so embarrassed
Yeah, it's
listening to
shocking.
music. I'm like, oh my god, can we listen to some Fern Husky and like turn this stuff off? It's just.
I mean, I remember when, because of Trump, and all of a sudden the language bar got really lowered, and I was seeing the word shit in headlines in the USA Today, like the shithole countries line that he did. And when I saw the word shit in a headline in a normal newspaper, I was like, we have fallen so far from grace at this point. We are. It just felt dystopian to me, but that's just part of my upbringing. I just have to get past it. But there was something about that. I was like, when you first heard a cuss word on network TV, you're just like, I don't know. I feel like we're going to hell in a handbasket here a little bit.
Well, that's the thing that what if people say like the English language has so many beautiful and powerful words. It's like lazy to cuss. So it's like it really is when you hear it, like you said, like on a newspaper or something. You're like, you all are at a level above. You got to find a better way to express these opinions than, vulgar language.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, like for me, given that background of not cussing all day professionally, when I do cuss, I find it funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
To hear me saying it sounds funny. Now,
Right.
other people aren't getting that joke, but I kind of like to hear me.
Just sort of tickle yourself a little bit.
Yeah, just kind of, there you go. Or you have fun doing it.
Dropping an F-bomb. That's what it's called. That's what dropping an. He dropped an F-bomb.
But when if you listen to my stuff, I don't drop F-bombs.
Mm-hmm.
I just use it as an adjective as I move along.
You think you've ever used a cuss word in a poem?
That's what I was just getting ready to say. I can't remember reading anything you've written, but
I've never used the F word in a poem because I think there's
time.
Yep. Maybe
still
tonight.
happen.
Yep.
Maybe just start the first line with F, start the second line with U, start the third line with C, sneak some stuff in there.
Yeah, it's a funny word anyway.
It is a funny word.
I had a professor in college. I think he would probably be classified as a gay geometry teacher. A very interesting man. I didn't know him well, but I sat in the back. But his expression that he would use several times during the course of a lecture was fucking a Tweety.
What?
Fucking a Tweety.
A?
A like A-Y. Fucking
Oh, it's not
A-Y.
like Jesus H. Christ.
Yeah. Fucking
Tweety.
a Tweety. T-W-E-E-T-Y. And it somehow,
He was the governor of Alabama back in the 50s, wasn't he?
he could have been.
Yeah, I believe he was.
I think you got it. But I would just start giggling sometimes when he would say it. It just sounded so funny coming out of his
I've never heard that before. Have you heard anybody else ever say
never heard anybody else say
So
it.
he
But
made that stuff
and
up
the,
on his
and,
own.
oh, and the way he said it it was kind of effeminate, but powerfully
that? A Tweety.
geometric. And I don't know, but I've always, but he unclothed the first word, because you can't say a Tweety after anything and take the thing before very seriously.
That's true.
Try if you try. Fucking a Tweety. Now you're gonna say that probably.
I
no
know.
matter what.
It's in there.
And it means something entirely different that you'll make up yourself.
Mm-hmm.
He had his own language for it. I mean, it was.
A Tweety.
I just thought of another category that curse words exist in beyond bodily functions and biological actions. Blasphemy. Goddamn.
Oh, yeah.
Using God's name in vain that was some magic you didn't play with willy-nilly. You can't, and that, I guess, the origin of damn, which would have been the word that someone could have brought up. I hadn't thought of it yet. That isn't a bodily function. So why is it vulgar? But it's blasphemy.
Yeah, and that's another word we could analyze. Damn. Damn you insinuates goddamn.
Mm-hmm.
So all of it's religious in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
or sacrilegious in a sense.
Right.
That you're using the Lord's name in vain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't just call upon him like that to do your.
But if you're,
selfish
if you're an old redneck and you hit a deer with one shot and you say, "God damn,"
Goddamn titties.
you're not doing anything wrong there. That's just the way you talk. But you're not being. You're using a cuss word in a non-cussive way.
Yeah, it's not. You're not aiming it at anybody. You're just like proud of what you did. You're just like, "Damn,
it's a statement
look
of
at
that.
that. That was amazing."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, sometimes words are meant to be attacking something, and that's when we get into a lot of this kind of language, when we want to say something negative to someone.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be used in a positive way.
But it's also like when you're angry, why do cuss words just come like automatically to your?
They pop right on
They just
up.
come like, you dumb motherfucker, you know, like and you.
Yeah, if you hit your thumb with a hammer, you're not going to be like, "Golly, gee willikers, that's smarts."
I like that. That was really. You'd have to practice that a lot.
Right.
Golly, ain't Tweety. I just think my thumb.
That's what you'd say if your parents were around, and you'd be like, "Wow, how did I do that?"
You missed that
Because
shot.
I really
Golly,
cut my
ain't
thumb
Tweety.
off, but I still said "golly" because mom and dad were right there.
Yeah, it's weird.
My thumb came clean off, but I tell you what, it's a remarkable restraint. Remarkable.
As soon as I got the ambulance, motherfucker! Oh god damn! I can't believe it.
Right. Are the doors shut? Cut the sirens on. And out flew the longest series of
Verbal assault.
vulgarities I've ever heard in my life. Holy moly. Tension and release.
Now, what do you think about using the word holy? Like when, like like
Holy moly is one of my isms.
no, do you think using the word holy is bad at all, or no, that's not bad?
It's funny when you put it in front of a cuss word. Holy shit! It's like, what's going on now?
Where are we?
Now where are
We're very confused.
we? God's confused. That's impressive in and of itself. Joe Medley, there you go.
Wow.
Good to see you.
Joe Medley.
Well,
I
Mr.
like it.
Moore, I was feeling sorry for you today because I found this on the internet. I
Ooh,
was just,
literal curses.
Excuse me.
Somebody in Foffy on Twitch said literal curses, which I hadn't really put together. Curse words. Then the curses.
I'll put a curse on you.
Put a curse on you. Damn you. I don't know. Like I've
that's
never
getting scary.
made that connection between a curse word and the curse of God or being cursed for being vulgar or any. I don't know. There's a lot.
Well,
there.
it is funny. Though, like we've all been saying the word cussing. So when I went to New Jersey, I would say cussing. They're like, what's cussing?
Is that a
Really?
Southernism?
Because they
for-
all say cursing.
Mhm.
Like they were like, why do you say cussing? Is you're cursing?
Yeah, a lot of people that aren't Southern don't talk right.
Yeah, it's true.
Have you ever noticed
Yeah, they
that?
got them weird words.
Yeah,
They're
they'll.
just making shit up.
But so 4:45 today, I'm getting ready to log out from work. So I'm looking at the internet for a couple of seconds, and I see the 15 most depressing jobs no one should ever have to do. Number 14, high school teacher.
Oh, wow. You made the list.
Wow.
Look, it's
Ding, ding, ding.
high school teachers often have to deal with disengaged or challenging students, as well as the pressure of preparing them for their future. That's like too much. So you're on there with
I bet that wouldn't have been on the list when Dad taught.
funeral directors, medical examiner, coroner, social worker, animal shelter worker, addiction counselor, emergency services worker, journalist, soldier, child protective services worker, hospice worker,
Well, who decided?
telemarketer, and high school teacher.
Telemarketer is like the only one on that list that isn't like the most important jobs
I know.
people do in our society. And it's the most important jobs people do in our society apparently are 14 of the 15 worst jobs you could possibly do. Worst way
Well,
to
you're
spend
dealing
your
with people and trying to help people, and most of them.
So
most people
did you
enjoy
feel
that.
pressure every day?
Right, the rewards.
Did you feel pressure every day that you had to?
I didn't feel a lot of pressure. I don't think anybody expected a whole lot out of me.
Stop saying that.
Well, he was lucky too because he taught chemistry, which sort of weeded out the crop in the first place because it
Oh,
was an
that-
elective, not a requirement. It wasn't like, and so you didn't feel like you necessarily had to reach people or something.
Well, I had felt like I was called to do something, but that's what I wanted to do, and that made it fun to go to school. You know, what makes you unhappy in a job is when you're doing something that you see no purpose in, and you see no reason, and you don't see yourself in that job. But I was perfectly at home being a school teacher, so I wouldn't agree with that at all. I was
Now,
I was right where I liked being.
Did you ever go? Did you ever have students? You can name them if you want to. Did you ever have students that you would just go home and worry about and be like, "Oh my gosh, somebody needs to get involved with this person and get them on the straight and narrow"?
Not that I was actually. I mean, I would see kids that weren't doing themselves. They weren't helping themselves, and they were going down the wrong road. But
Now, as a teacher, like, do you have a did they, like, not a responsibility, but if you saw somebody being really bad, were you supposed to go tell somebody, like a counselor or the principal, like, this I've seen? Was that part of your job?
if they were doing what?
Like, if they looked like they were stoned every day, or they were.
Stoned every day is hard to tell.
Right.
A lot of people told me that they were stoned every day later, and I didn't know. I just thought
If
they
they're
were.
stoned every day, there's nothing to measure it against.
Exactly.
Like if you saw cuts on somebody's arms or something, you thought they were hurt.
If I saw anything like that, I should report it. But I didn't see anybody like doing heroin or hard drugs. It was just a question of whether they were getting stoned before school, during school, or after school,
Right.
or not at all. And I couldn't tell.
I feel like there's something healthy about. If I could be speaking out of turn here, not knowing what I'm talking about, but I feel like back when you were teaching, that you didn't have to feel a sense of responsibility for the kids. Like, there's a certain level of like, you're gonna get the grade you earned, and if you're okay with an F, I'm okay with an F. I'm not here to make you do any.
I don't know about. I think that comes with the age of the student or the grade. I mean, the first few grades, you do feel responsible for them.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time they get to be juniors in high school, it's more like you described it. It's up to them to make that effort to
Right.
to give it to you. But you have to bring that along.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with Nathan. Like, I don't think in Stanton you were worried that anybody was going to knife another person or pull a pistol out and shoot somebody or anything. It's not like you go to school now and you don't know what they've got in their backpack and they're going to,
Yeah.
That stuff didn't even exist
no.
back in our day. It's definitely a whole new set of thoughts.
And like back when you were teaching, did they worry about kids not having a meal? Like they had to give them free meals and all that stuff? Was that a concern?
It was on a certain level, but I think the level was lower.
Mm-hmm.
And they were handled more individually than they were in groups.
Mm-hmm. I feel like nowadays there's so much like more concern for the kids, and I don't know where that's going. It's almost distracting. It's almost like.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I'm sure some of these teachers go home like, Timmy hasn't eaten. I can tell he hasn't eaten for 2 days. You're just like, he can't focus. He's, falling asleep. Just bruises on him. Like, man, how do you go home from something like that every day and just?
That's a good question. I don't.
Did you ever have to deal with anything
No.
in that ballpark where you saw somebody that was?
Not really. I mean, I might have had a suspicion or two, but nothing real.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are good at hiding that stuff when they want to. But no, but I can see where, especially in the younger grades, earlier grades,
Right.
that you would run into that occasionally. Again, it was like my choice of who I would teach, because I would not like dealing with those situations. They would be stressful, so I avoided them by teaching older kids and more of a college-bound atmosphere.
Yeah, teaching chemistry at junior high schools is way different than just the general public in grade school or something where you probably have all kinds of concerns.
Now, after teaching at VSDB, do you have any opinion on them going to one mascot?
No.
What's this story? I haven't heard about that.
I guess the blind had one mascot and the deaf. I think the deaf were the cardinal, and the other one was the chief or the brave or something.
I knew the Cardinals.
Yeah,
I didn't
but
even.
there was two. They had two different mascots, and now they said the kids interact. They've just the way of teaching now. The kids are much more combined. They're not separated. So they're going for one mascot. It's like the Lehigh thing. They said the old students are coming back. No, we were the Cardinals. Don't, get those other people with us, It's just so how the pride people take, this, we were the Cardinals. We don't want them to be the Cardinals. And
The only thing I can say about that is it was interesting to me that the world of the blind and the world of the deaf are two different worlds. And they didn't eat at the same time. They didn't go to the same
right.
social things. They each had their own little world there. So the fact that they would have two different mascots would be appropriate to me.
Well, that's the article I was reading. So they're trying to make it more of a just, not so separated now. So they don't want them to be known, I'm a Cardinal, I'm a terrible. I can't remember what the other one was.
It's yeah. I don't know why they want to do that, but if they do, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have a horse in either race. I just think, as a teacher, you're usually one or the other. It was, a lot of the blind teachers in the blind department had visual problems, and a lot of the deaf faculty members were deaf, and never those two will meet on a certain level. So I don't know.
Are either of you familiar with the term transhumanism?
Transhumanism?
Never heard of that? I'm going to ask the Percy bot in Discord, what is he just said, sorry, I cannot answer that right now. Tech support, help.
Click here to
Where did it come from?
Click here to prove that you're not a robot, and I'll answer what transhumanism is.
Yeah, he's down and out. He can't answer questions at the moment. Well, there goes that ploy. I don't even know if I could do it myself. But there's a transhumanism, I guess, is the idea that by integrating ourselves with technology, we can become sort of superhuman. And from bionic parts to artificial intelligence, different there's a whole movement. Unfortunately, some of the QAnon conspiracy theorists or whatever think the Democrats are all just sort of transhumanist elites that are trying to drink the blood of children to live forever, and so it gets really weird out there. People that will say that. I first saw the word on Facebook. A guy I was arguing with about COVID stuff, and he's on about transhumanists or whatever, and I was like, what is he talking about? So then I went down the YouTube rabbit hole, and I'm listening to all these people talking about transhumanism, and it is sort of interesting because, there are all these technologies that it'll be a quandary for the future whether or not you get the implant or not. Right. If who knows what they'll have in the future, but they might have stuff in the future that you can put in your brain that'll make you alert, and maybe it's a database of knowledge readily accessible. And so there might come a point in the future where you have to decide whether you want the chip or not. And especially if everyone around you that has the chip is living a happier life than you, it's an interesting pressure which I think is a fascinating pressure, because it's not just about you're being forced to do it, but societal pressures can be a force in and of themselves. But the reason I thought of this in the first place, just to bring it full circle before y'all share your thoughts, is the day after I went down this transhumanism rabbit hole, we went to see a documentary at the Visualite about this child prodigy musician that was deaf, and because he was deaf, but he was a great piano player, he was going deaf really quickly, progressively, and he got these things called cochlear implants. This is the day after I was went down a transhumanism rabbit hole, and so they have these implants, and apparently VSDB was invited to attend the screening of this documentary. but they refused because their community is completely against cochlear implants because they see it as a grave threat to their culture.
Ooh.
That to them, there's not something wrong with them that needs to be fixed. To them, they were given a gift, a perspective, a way of seeing the world that was unique, and through that had developed a language, a culture, and all this was being to them. They saw cochlear implants, and they saw this movie as sort of propaganda in favor of cochlear implants, and they think those implants are a threat to their culture and didn't want to engage with the film, which I just thought was so fascinating, going from this like sort of conspiratorial rabbit hole about transhumanism and how it's a threat, to like a real world example of the exact concept.
Oh, it's so crazy because before you started talking about that, I was going to tell a story. My nephew, is totally can hear fine, but he's very good at sign language. He's took sign language for like 10 years or something. So
Because he's deaf?
No, but he just loves sign language.
Interesting.
He knows a couple other foreign languages, and he knows sign language. But my parents lived in Stanton, so he knew about VSDB, and he wanted to go just hang out there and go to classes and stuff. And VSDB said, no, that's wonderful, but these aren't like study people. These are human beings. They're not here for you to come study. We don't want you here. And his feelings were sort of hurt, but I thought that's sort of the same thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with these people. They don't need you studying them and, hanging out to, say, look, I can do the same as you can, It was like they were like, these are normal people that just live their lives, same as everybody else, How would you like it if a deaf person came to your, chemistry class at Lehigh and watched you, You'd be like, what's going on here?
Well, this is interesting because, again, I never have been around deaf people, but I've been around blind people, and in that context, it sounds like to me that, like, I always felt like when I was teaching blind kids, that a blind kid's goal in life was to be normal.
Right.
And I would treat them just like another kid. And I used to move the desk. You don't do that to blind kids. That's wrong. Mm-hmm. They're bumping into shit. But they started laughing at me one day, and I didn't realize I was messing with them, but I was, because the desks need to be right where they were the day before, so they can get used to how they get in and out. But I didn't realize. Well, I was just playing around, but at the same time, they needed that help. But I think in the blind community, you get a different thing. They're whole unto themselves.
Wait, the deaf community or the blind?
I think the deaf community. I'm sorry, you're right. I think the deaf community doesn't see themselves as wanting to be normal. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be like. But what it really betokens is that a blind person can listen to the radio and figure out what regular people are thinking. For deaf people, there's no real communication in terms of language that we can really talk to each other about it at the beginning, so they all get their own way of looking at it. And so when they're with each other and they're all deaf, they're all on the same page. But if you have a mixture, you're all confused. Right. Where blind people don't have that same experience. That is fascinating.
It is, yeah.
And I might be full of something.
That is a very interesting insight too. That blind people can hear people's language, their inflections, feel the emotions in it. You can learn.
Feeling
so
the
much.
Emotions is powerful.
It's so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some of my most just regretful moments of being a teenager and growing up. Like, you'd be at the park on a swing or something, and like a deaf kid would come up and want to, try to talk to you and want to swing, and I would just, I didn't dislike them or anything, but I would just freeze. I didn't know how to communicate with them, and I would just feel this like sense of panic, like, oh my God, they're being so nice, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they were looking at me like, dude's getting ready to have a heart attack. He's like, you're trying to be nice, but you can't really understand what they're saying, and you're like, you start. And when I think about that now, I was thinking, oh my God, I wish some deaf kid should have just punched me in the face, and just I don't even know why I would. And not that I got panicked, but I just felt like, oh my God, I can't.
I always thought it was interesting that, like, if you ask a person who has both of those senses, you have to lose one. Which one would you lose?
Right.
I think most everybody would say they'd rather lose their hearing than be blind.
Right.
But on another level, completely different level, being blind leaves you more humanity, whatever humanity is. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I don't think a lot of people would think, well, deaf you just can't hear, but it's a lot more than that.
It's a lot more than that. Yeah.
What do you think, producer?
I think deaf communities and blind communities, they have, like, we see them having some absence of something, but they have things that we can't even fathom. And so we can't, I think they see themselves differently. And it's hard for us because we just see the absence of the thing we have.
Right.
But we can't realize that we don't have what they have. And like with deaf people, I know they have a vibrant, communicative community, and there's a lot in body language, and there's a lot in. I think there's just a lot. I think it's easier for people who have sight and hearing to not realize that there's this maybe whole other thing that happens for these communities that they have that we don't have and can't even imagine.
Right.
Yeah,
So.
well said. I think that's what we go right back to what you went to when you went to that show. That's what they were saying. We have our own little world here.
Yeah.
And we didn't ask you to change it for us.
Yeah, that's like when I was telling you, like, I remember one time on the swings at the park, and I was like 16 or 17. I felt like I was the one that didn't know how to communicate. Like, I was like, oh my God, this person is communicating to me totally confident, totally calm, and totally, doesn't have any problems speaking a little bit, different than I do. And I'm just like, oh, like totally freezing up. Like, I was the one that was like the, disability just because of your nerves or your, well, it gives me the creeps saying about what a dumbass I was.
As you walked away from there, if you could have looked back, I bet you would have seen that kid going. Anybody know what that is?
Shithead.
Close.
Motherfucker.
Bullshit.
I got it.
Look at that. It's perfect.
Well, I
Just to bring it full circle. Just to bring the whole thing full circle.
I remember, I don't know if I must have told my mom how I thought about that or something. So she took me and my brother, we were going to try to learn sign language. And so we went, and there was a deaf lady teaching sign language. And the first night she was teaching us the alphabet. My brother's totally not into it. He's just sitting there, doing the things. And they get to I, and he's just sitting there, and he does this, and the teacher just starts laughing. And, like, what's laughing? She goes, you know what you're doing? That means idiot. So he's just...
That's good.
So she's like, you're just sitting there, like, bored, idiot.
Do you remember the letters? Do you know any of the letters?
No, I wish I did.
Like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K,
Wow.
L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W. I can't even do the W. W, X, Y, and Z.
Is this the way y'all communicated when the Netherlands couple was here? They are driving me crazy. Me too. That idiot doesn't.
They were wonderful guests. But I did envy them their bilingualness because at any point in time they could break off into a conversation with us sitting here, and we have no idea what kind of disparaging things they were saying about the two of us.
But is
They were probably
Jam, you have any
saying
deaf
that.
or blind
Yeah,
students?
I would guarantee you.
Does Jam, you have any deaf or blind students? Man.
Yeah, I mean, Cather has to think about how to teach if she has a blind or deaf student in the class. She has to be ready for that. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, one of my friends was I worked with him I forget where I even worked with him, but he got a job just doing that. He was at a grade school and had 2 deaf kids in the school, and he translated everything the teacher said.
My good friend, a great musician, which I always think is incredible irony, Rennie DeVito. You know Rennie?
Mm-mm.
Both of his parents were deaf. And so now for a living, he translates.
Oh, wow.
You know, he goes to UVA every day and gets hired for that. That's what he does for a living. But he had to learn as a child to communicate with his parents.
Right.
And it's just so fascinating because I was also one of the best musicians I know.
Oh, wow.
That's so fascinating to me because I know a lot of my musical inspiration came from you and wanting to impress you or whatever, but I guess his musical calling was not parental in origin.
Wow.
Because he makes amazing music that neither of his parents will ever be able to hear.
One of my friend's daughters has Down syndrome, and they said it was easier to teach them to communicate with sign language. They still do a lot of communicating with sign language and stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. We got a cat in the ceiling. I just taped up it's exposed rafters here, and I filled it with soundproofing insulation and then just tacked up canvas sheets for those watching out there that can't see it. But the cats, from time to time, will get up in there between the floorboards and the bottom, and it's like you're lying under a trampoline watching their little paw prints traverse the ceiling up there.
One of our apartments in Richmond, we were sitting there watching TV one day, and all of a sudden just the ceiling just collapsed, and one of our cats, we didn't know it had gotten up in the ceiling, and it just fell to the ground, just standing on this tile, and scared the crap out of us. Like, oh God! The cat just takes off running. Was it you?
You never had an animal.
What?
You?
Well, you had Natty. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I had dogs.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's just cats you never had.
You had those birds in the basement.
I had 9 cats at one time.
All right.
Horrible.
And you had the Helgamite. What was that thing called? The thing you kept in the dark?
Oh, the Hellbender.
Hellbender.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had lots of pets. I've had several box turtles.
Oh, yeah. Box turtles. They live a long time.
They do. Nothing else to do.
It's crazy, though.
What are you doing living? Got nothing else to do.
Wonder why they live so long. It's because of that shell.
I remember, I don't know if my mom was just scared to death of turtles, but my neighbor had a turtle growing up. My mom used to always tell us, don't get anywhere near that turtle. We're like, why? She goes, if a turtle bites you, it won't let go until it thunders and lightning.
Well, snapping turtle is true, right?
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's true?
Well,
They got really long necks, too. Snapping turtles are very traumatizing.
they'll hold
animal.
on. I mean, they always said sundown, so they won't let go till sundown.
Here's an interesting fact. I just Googled it. Box turtles generally live for 25 to 35 years, but have been known to survive to over 100 years old. Now, that's a little sad to a certain extent, because most of them live 25 to 35, but every now and again there's one that has to watch generations pass before their eyes. Well, every now and again, there's one that lives to be over 100 years old. That's 4 lifetimes.
And that one is
That's-
known. And that one is known as the storyteller. We do not write, so we go and have the storyteller tell us our history. Remember, children, do not let go until sundown.
Yeah, but a box turtle won't bite you.
So which ones bite?
Just snapping turtles, as far as I know.
Well,
they're just in
I
the
wouldn't
water.
say a box turtle wouldn't bite you.
Yeah.
What are the big turtles called? Like the big, huge ones?
Tortoise?
Well, the biggest ones are the water turtles, or the snapping turtles, or the
Oh, that's a snapping turtle?
snapping turtles. The river is the water.
They're like, what's the ones you see crawling across the highway? You pick them up. and
There's
throw 'em.
there's snappers, or there's an alligator turtle, but in the spring
I've never
they'll
heard of an alligator turtle.
they're not from around here, but they're different types of big turtles, but and terrapins. We don't have terrapins like that, but in the spring they'll snapping turtles will be run out or leave there and look for a new pond.
Wow.
So you'll
yeah.
find them like 3 miles.
Migrating.
Yeah, it's a form of migration.
Have you ever eaten turtle?
That doesn't make any sense.
Have you eaten turtle?
My next question. Do you ever try to cook a turtle?
Yeah.
Isn't there
you-
turtle soup? Or what? Is it turtle? That's not real turtle. though, is
You
it?
made turtle soup?
We tried.
It's turtles.
It
That's not
wasn't-
really turtles, is it?
Tried.
No, turtle soup is not really turtle.
I got to hear about Dad's failure at cooking a turtle.
It was a
I
snap.
know that it was an attempt.
First, I nailed it to a tree. Then
And I shot it with a 22.
turtle soup is like some French thing. That's not really turtles.
All right, so when did you try to cook a turtle?
It was at Frank's Mill.
Uh-huh.
It traumatized one of my children. I was thinking,
I missed this.
well, you missed that one?
Did you ever wear a turtleneck?
No, don't change the subject.
All right, turtle
No,
soup.
We just found a snapping turtle, and I don't
did
like
shoot
them because
It is a turtle.
I've heard about them biting you, and I had children. I didn't want them to bite my children, much less me.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, and I don't believe in killing something
Unless you're going to eat it.
unless you're going to eat it.
Or
So
try to eat it.
I tried to eat it. And
That does not look good. Would you eat that picture right there in the middle?
But-
No.
I didn't have a knife that was. It ended. The experiment ended when the turtle was tougher than my knife.
He never got into it.
I cut some pieces off of its neck and threw it in a bowl, a kettle, and
How do you get
tried
the
it.
shell off of it?
He didn't.
I didn't.
Oh, you just threw the whole thing in there?
No, I just threw the neck muscles that I cut off in there.
I'm surprised you didn't.
Wait a minute. So you just caught it, cut its neck muscles off, then let it go, and you just ate it?
No, I had shot it in the head. Well, I'm civilized. What's wrong?
I don't understand what's going
I'm
on.
not a barbarian.
But isn't all the meat inside the shell?
Mm-hmm.
His legs and everything, but I couldn't get through there.
Oh.
So I took what I could get, which was his neck sticking out, and I cut off some meat and threw it. And I guess I just wanted to say I'd had turtle. I wasn't really looking for a big meal. I'd just been to McDonald's, so it probably was all right.
I was full at the time. So.
Just finish off those McNuggets now, washing down the little turtle.
Obviously wasn't that hungry. I was in for the adventure.
For fans of the show, you know about the ongoing exploits of Dad trying to cook up nature. You have to understand that this was way before Google existed.
That's right.
So you're just out there winging it. You're just like, well, I've heard people eat these.
Well, I've heard European people eat turtle soup.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you
So
get
it's
yourself
been
a
a-
turtle, then
it
it's
was
all
kinda-
trial and error, basically.
I was thinking delicacy here.
Right, this is going to be good. This is
But one of
fancy.
my children was throwing up. I don't think it was Daniel. I think I ruined Joe's We'll find out
Now,
tomorrow.
Right.
now, did you cook it like frying it, or like did you throw it in water, or what
No,
did
I
you?
cooked. I was boiling it, basically. I figured it would just boil in the water and.
You should have
And
boiled
the
the whole
meat.
thing and seen what happened.
Well, I couldn't. It was too. That thing was
Yeah, the
hard.
whole thing.
I couldn't do it.
Do you have any memory of what it tasted like?
No. No. I don't. I'm not sure I ever tasted.
Probably
Yeah.
for the best.
It might have got thrown out the next morning.
I'll tell you what, he tried to cook eel, tried to cook carp, tried to cook turtle, crayfish. He couldn't tell you what any of them taste like.
No,
I can say that none of those were successful in terms of me wanting to go back and have another round.
Right, yeah.
It once was enough.
now, if somebody said your dad's getting ready to make fried fish, would you go over there for that? Would
Oh,
that be-
you can make a hell of a fried fish.
Yeah, I can cook.
Oh, yeah.
But
In fact, if Dad ever offers to make you some trout, you just drop whatever you're doing. Drop whatever you're doing. Go get.
Sorry,
get
Turtle,
that.
I gotta go. I'm gonna go up there and get some trout.
oh,
Man. Now, have you ever been like camping and cooked a fish over a fire?
oh yeah, yeah. That's
Does that taste better than doing it at home?
well. At the time it does because you're hungry,
Right.
but you don't have the same spices and things to make it taste as good. But yeah, a wild fish, just put it on a stick and hold it over a fire, and you got meat.
Right.
It's just like you're on TV.
Right.
There was a little while there growing up where Dad was a bow hunter.
Wow.
Am I wrong about that?
No, I never killed anything.
No, you never got anything.
So I was out there with a bow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time we went camping with some friends, like seriously camping. We were prepared to stay there for a couple of days, and we built like a little rotisserie thing and put a chicken on it and stuffed it full of, herbs and stuff and twisted it around the fire all day.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. So then we went camping with some friends that were really just out there to, get drunk and didn't really care. And it was taking too long. So we were near a lake. So we built a little raft and put like the half cooked chicken on it and just put it out like
An offering.
yeah, it was like a Viking burial, and we were all just dying laughing. This half cooked chicken just floating out in the river.
Oh,
Now, why'd you do that?
Because it was time to go, and they were like,
Go.
they were like, oh man, I know it's gonna be good, but let's just get out. They were like the type, we have to piss in the woods. This is ridiculous. Let's get out of here. But I mean, like you said, that we had we got some wildflowers and had some wine and the chicken cooked. Oh man, nothing better than that.
I love camp cooking.
Yeah,
I got all the accoutrements.
man. When we used to go camping, there's probably like 15 of us. Only 2 people had tents. So we had to sleep 7 in one tent, 8 in another tent. We'd be drunk and just totally wasted. You'd wake up in the morning, the condensation from body heat would just be dripping on you. It was like the grossest thing in the world. You'd wake up like, oh my God, let me get out of this tent. And the tent would just be raining with sweat and beer sweat coming.
where would you do this?
I can't think of it. We lived in Richmond. We would come. God, is it Ramsey's Draft? It was up near, what's that fancy golf course? We would drive a long ways.
Homestead?
Yeah, we'd go up past Homestead, somewhere up there and camp.
Oh,
You could camp right there on the river.
okay.
I remember one time we had some inner tubes, and they drove us. I think it was the women drove me and 3 other guys down. We were we're gonna just take us a way down the road, and we'll just come back to camp. We had a couple of cases of beer. We're just gonna inner tube back to the camp. Kept getting longer and longer and longer. So they finally asked somebody how long does it take? And they said, where'd you put them? And they said, you know, we dropped them off here, and they go, that's going to Richmond. That river doesn't come back towards us. They're going the wrong way.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
So they had to like keep driving down the road, getting off at like every little dirt road, just trying to find us.
Oh no.
And we were like out there like burning with, you know, the sun had been beating on us like 8 hours. Like, how fucking far is it back to camp?
You're going the wrong
What
way.
happened?
They finally found, it was the weirdest time. We came to like this gypsy camp. There was lawn chairs, like buckets underneath. They were like sitting down, like taking a dump, like in like it was like they lived out there, you know. And most of them were like naked, and my wife and the two other ladies were like totally nervous, like standing around all these naked people, like, we've got the car over here. We were like, where have you been? Like, you've been going the wrong way the whole time. We've been trying to find you.
So you just happened on a random like commune or something?
Yeah, they were going off every little place they could find. They're trying to like see if they could see us coming down the river, and they had finally found this like little gypsy camp. They said, no, we haven't seen them. And they lived there, so they waited around. But I remember getting out like, well, none of these men have pants on. This is a weird thing, you know.
Holy moly. You're lucky to make it out of there alive.
It was weird. But I remember we were like so sunburned, so you know, we had just been floating on inner tubes for like 8 hours for the whole day. We should almost be there by now, you know, trying to keep each other positive, you know. I'm getting ready to eat your leg if we don't get out of here soon. We're going to bash your head in with a rock and eat you.
If I was going to take Catherine to show her Sycamore Bend, where was that? Me and Granddad's camp.
Well, it's a left in Deerfield.
So you go out past the park down Churchville Avenue, that direction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just go through Churchville and keep on going, and you'll get to Deerfield. And I think it's Marble Valley is the valley. If you go all the way through, you come out over at on the other side is where the Maury River is. Where what's that valley called? Where everybody goes swimming.
Goshen?
Goshen. Yeah, you come out near Goshen and go back there, so you can go either way. Benny Ergenbright has a camp there on his end of it, but it's the same road that Kim Clanton's lives on.
Now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
I remember there was a pond near that camp where you could dip a bucket in it and come up with like 50 salamanders. Wow. It was just bursting with life.
Wow.
I wonder if that's still the case.
There's a swinging bridge at Williamsville. That's still out there?
Oh, I don't know that one.
I haven't been out there enough to see it,
Where's that?
but I'm sure it is.
I'm not even sure. I used to know how to get there when I lived
It's a
in
little
Williamsville, but there's like this beautiful swinging bridge. Like you just get on it. If you tell somebody that's never been out there, just go across, and you get on one end and start jumping on it, and starts like they're like stop. Things like.
Where's that? Do you know?
It's a bull pasture river.
Yeah.
It's a little above Williamsville.
Yeah.
That's where I used to fish all the
Yeah, it's a
time.
little pull off and like a little picnic area and stuff there.
There's a little camp.
We used to go
camping there.
camping out there too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a cave out there.
Oh, yeah?
That's where that swinging bridge is. I can't think of the name of that cave.
There was a cave right outside of town that we used to go to in high school, and now I can't remember where it was to go. I mean, it's got to still be there. You would pull off just on the side of the road, wasn't marked or anything, cross the road, go up about 50 feet up the side of the hill, and there's a little slit in the land. But you crawl in there, and first it opened up into this one room. It was cool because everybody that had been in there before made little things out of the clay, and so it's like a little museum of previous visitors' clay sculptures. But then you go down a little bit further, and there's a huge room there. But it's not like marked. It's not open for the public. I've tried to backtrack my steps, and either of you have any clue as
Don't
to?
know it. There's a little cave right across from Gypsy Hill Park in the woods there.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. My uncle.
Oh wait.
Yeah, my uncle grew up around here. He came to visit one time when we were like in our teens. So let's go caving or what is it called? Not caving,
Spelunking.
We're like, all right. And he just drives down to the park. We're like, I thought we were going spelunking. And he takes us across the road. And we go up, like you said, 50 feet into the thing. He just knew where it was. You go down in there, and I was scared.
That's the same one I was talking about.
Scared to death because it's dark and there wasn't any big thing like this. This was pretty tight, and I was like, oh my god. And I was scared to death of bats, man. I remember if I ever look up and see bats, oh my god.
I had friends that were spelunkers, and I never liked it. I did a couple of them, but I didn't like dark and cold.
It's sort of like you know where the
Right.
real young kids' playground is, like by the baseball field. It's sort
Yeah.
of like right up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in that cave.
How big is that one?
It's small.
It's like hands and knees, and then it gets like when you get down your stomach. I'm like, no. I'm getting. I'm not doing any shimmying backwards to get out of here type stuff.
Is it on someone's private property?
I think it's just
Oh,
public
yeah.
land. Well, it's like no, there's no house.
Well, those
there.
woods have
Yeah.
never been.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody owns them.
That'd be a fun hobby to get into. What do you think of that?
Spelunking.
No, don't do it. It's not fun.
It might be with Steve.
A friend of mine in high school told whenever they would go out, and he was trapped for like 3 days. He wasn't trapped; he was lost for 3 days, and they had the calmness to say, "All right, we're lost. Let's just sit here." Like I would just be screaming, running, bouncing off walls. He said, "Let's just sit here." And finally, he had told his brother where they were going, and they sent rescue people. It took them 3 days to find them.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
I was like, man, I just bashed
You
my
would have
head.
gone. You would have wound up in Richmond.
Yeah, I'd have been
I'd
dead.
have bashed my head against the wall. Till
I'd
I
have been dead for 2 days.
Yeah, I would have been like, one of y'all's got to kill me. I can't deal with this.
Wow.
Yeah, I never really got it. Spelunking. I mean, you're going into a dark, wet, clammy place. The critters are all gross. I mean, they're hiding away from the rest of the world.
Right, for her
Obviously,
reason.
there's a reason, because they're gross.
Probably don't want to be disturbed.
But the place you said sounds cool. If you can stand up and look around.
Yeah, it opened up into a big room.
yeah.
Big.
These type of places, like if you can get on your elbows, you're happy to have that much space.
Yeah, these spelunkers, they didn't go to places that had big rooms. They went to.
I would like that place until I looked up and saw bats.
Dana in the house says
Hey,
yes,
Dana.
the swinging bridge is still there,
Yes.
and lots of caves out that way. I wonder if there's like a map you
Now,
can
she
find
used
of
to
local
go-
caves.
She used to go spelunking with people.
What's a
Oh,
good
wow.
hot tip, Dana, on a cave that is big inside, that's not too far away, that some weekend newbie spelunkers could go have a good time?
Man, you don't go by yourself if you don't know what you're doing.
No, that's
Catherine falls down in a hole and you're just like, I gotta leave you and go find.
Of course, if they're big enough to enjoy,
but remember,
somebody's
I
making money
love
off
right.
you.
Everybody knows about it.
I can still hear you. Just say it. Don't let the bats eat you. I'm going to get help. But you should just go to the swinging bridge. That's a beautiful place. Take a picnic.
Mm-hmm.
Take your guitar out there. You could probably have you could probably create like a whole concert out there if you were just out there playing.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
I've never been to the lime kiln. Is that what it's called, or the lime kiln?
lime
Yeah.
kiln. Yeah.
where they have music.
Yeah, they have shows there.
Yeah, I've been a couple
You been
times. Yeah, I saw the Stanley Brothers there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I got Stanley Brothers pocket knives.
What? Oh, they were selling them at their merch
And
table?
they would sign them.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll tell you who I saw there. The most beautiful voice I've ever heard. It was and I can't think of her name,
Oh no.
but I do love her. I think she knows that. I think about her a lot. But she was a member of the Carolina Chocolate Drops.
Oh, wow.
Her name, she's famous on her own. She's well, they're all.
How'd you wind up at that?
2 women took me. That's all I remember.
Is it a good place to see a concert?
it's
Oh,
really
it's
good,
wonderful. Yeah, I've
Is
seen
it a
it.
natural formation of some sort? Is it like a, or is it is it man-made?
I don't
it's
know
outside, right?
what they were doing there.
It's not, when you get there, it doesn't really seem that much nature. It's outside, but it's not like a,
I mean, it's got a rock. It's
Yeah.
got rocks around it. But I don't know what the lime kiln is referring to. I don't have that data.
the
But
best,
they've
the,
had wonderful shows there over the years.
yeah, the best thing
Yeah.
about when you go see a show there, almost everybody there is there to see a show. There's not a lot of talking and carrying on.
It's like a theater.
Yeah, like people that have gone, driven
Yeah,
out there,
they-
there. Like us, I've seen Austin Lounge Blizzards. You know who they are?
Oh,
I saw
yeah.
them there. Stanley Brothers. Yes, it's a very respectful, paying attention, know the song type of crowd.
Yeah, they've done some plays there. I've seen over the years. I've seen right many things there. It's real nice.
God, I wouldn't remember how. Where is that? Is that heading towards Lexington? I can't remember where.
It's in
anything is
Lexington.
now. Yeah.
You go to Lexington and take a slow. It's a nice place.
We should go see a show there.
You should. I recommend it. They have good taste too. They have good.
Yeah.
They always have good quality people. But check her out on the Carolina Chocolate Drops. Cause
She's amazing. I can't remember her name either.
you know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she does a lot of solo stuff.
I was thinking about you a couple of days ago. I just saw Iris DeMent's got a new album out.
Oh, we can rent the
Really?
lime kiln.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that's where I should make my return show.
It's a good idea. That really is a good idea. Good place.
Trying to see what shows they got coming up, but it doesn't look like they've announced their
Now,
23 lineup yet.
if you were gonna do it like you were gonna say, I'm coming back to perform live, would it be solo or you'd have a band with you?
I don't know. I like playing with a band.
Would you have guys around here that you could pick from, or you would?
Oh, speaking of which, I have to put together a band for April the 20th, 420, at the bandstand in the park for the YMCA Bobby Day benefit.
What's that mean? I don't know what Bobby Day
Well,
is.
Bobby Day he's a beluga, and he mysteriously disappeared a few years ago hiking.
Was this the guy you were telling me about?
10 years ago.
10 years ago, and so and he was a regular member of the Y. So the Y does like a fun driving season each year, and they always do a big event, and they've took to naming it in recent years Bobby Day, or in his memory and his honor. So
Well, we gave the Y a whole lot of money. And I say we, it wasn't really we, but we got together a lot of, well, there was a main donor, but several of his friends, we had like a $30,000
Wow.
reward for leading to find out what happened to him. And a couple years ago, we decided to drop that reward because it had been so long, and so we gave that money to the Y. So that's where so Bobby's Day remembers Bobby, but it also remembers that beginning gift.
Wow, that's very
Gotcha.
nice.
So, and the other thing I want everybody to know is that Bobby was the reason he was at the Y was he's a racquetball player. So it's the racquetball community that supported a lot of that. So you ought to have a lot of racquetball players at your thing. But there's not that many of us left, so there you go.
So when is this? April?
April 20th.
It's
And I actually have visceral memories of how big his ears were whenever he was at a show. I always liked the way he listened. He had a real presence, real gratitude about him. Good guy.
Good guy.
So April 20th, yep,
is it a daytime or nighttime?
daytime. Not
That's
exactly
that
sure
far
when,
away.
but yeah, it's coming right up. Well, folks, the clock has struck. It's the end of episode 14. We did it again, guys.
Can you say good night in sign language?
I'd have to spell it out.
Yeah. Can you spell it out?
How about this? This is better.
All right.
No, that you had it. How far did you get?
I did the whole thing.
So what's the G? And what the O is, I guess.
That looks like a U to me.
Oh, wait, yep, again, and then
That G
This
looks
G,
like a U
D.
to me.
N, I,
and that's N.
oh, N,
That's I.
I,
G,
G.
again. H.
H.
T.
So that's good. Yeah, good night.
He only remembers them in sequence.
Yeah, I can
We
do
figured
two
the
A's.
trick. We
Muscle
figured
memory.
out the trick.
I got the alphabet down with some muscle
Oh,
memory
that's
involved.
sweet. That's sweet doing that. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
It's
Thanks
like-
for
Good
tuning
night.
in.
Oh, and Lisa Policio and Mariah Spinner, if you watch, love you both. Hope you enjoyed it.
Happy birthday to all you March babies out there.
Thanks for coming by.